Hello.
Greetings. We are now live. We've got some people made some comments. So, yeah, hello everybody. Welcome. Let me just take your slides off. Actually, so we should have done that before. Welcome everybody. My name is Elliot. Welcome to the Cheltenham Meetup. I have my co-hosts Stillman and Richard with us. Stillman is going to actually give us a talk tonight on customizing WordPress, which I'm interested to see because I'm sure I know a little bit about WordPress, but I always learn something new whenever anybody gives a talk. So I'm looking forward to that one. And also, I'd love to get some feedback. I know that there are some people in the watching the stream at the moment, but we're trialing a new format where we're doing a bit of a Zoom beforehand. But what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do more frequent meetups, but shorter. So that maybe we do like one every 2 weeks, but they'll only be like about an hour long. Anybody that wants to join in the social beforehand is welcome to, but rather than have a 3 hour long meetup, which is quite demanding, it's a big ask, I think, in the virtual world when people have, family commitments and other commitments. So we're trialing that for the moment, which is why this meetup is shorter than the usual meetups. So anybody has any feedback on that or wants to make a comment, then feel free to do so. You can either do it through the meetup page or through the comments. We'll pick it all up. So any feedback is good feedback, whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. We'd appreciate your comments on that. So a little note on the StreamYard Zoom or the presentation tonight. We are having a presentation from Stillman, and it's going to be followed by Q&A. If anybody wants to come on backstage and go live to ask their question, they're more than welcome to. Just put it in the comments and I'll make sure that you get a link and you can come backstage and ask your question in person. Otherwise, feel free, if that's, you don't feel comfortable with that, then feel free to put it in the comments and we'll just do it in the standard way. Have I missed anything out, guys?
I don't think so. Graham's got a question. He's new to YouTube Live. I'm assuming we were all muted. Or do I need to? I guess that's.
Yes. Yeah. You're only viewing. Only if you come backstage. Well, you can either be muted or unmuted, but you have to be backstage and then come onto the live stream in order to be heard. So no, you're not. You are muted.
He's welcome to join the space if he wants to do some chatting. If he's got something to say, he's more than welcome to join us. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
As is anyone else.
Yeah. So. We have a few comments. We've got people from up and down the country, actually, which is really nice.
And there's someone from Bonn.
Yeah, remind me where that is, Stillman?
Germany?
Bonn is, I believe, Germany.
Germany.
It's a little town in Germany.
And we've got someone from Northampton as well, which is good. Lovely. You're all welcome, by the way. Feel free to put your comments. So without any further ado, I think, I have a question there, actually, quickly. Yes, it's being recorded. If you want to ask questions, if you put them in the comments, we'll see them backstage and we can add them either during the presentation or after the presentation. Without distracting the speaker, I'll ask the question now. Stillman, if comments do come through, would you like them added to the stream or would you like to wait until the end?
I'm happy either way.
Okay.
You can make a decision whether it's that.
Okay, cool. Okay, so without any further ado, shall we crack on with the presentation? No, we generally do a little bit of a to get to know our speaker a little bit better. I've got a little bit of a few questions I asked them. Are you happy to go through those now, Stillman?
Well, we'll see what the questions are.
Okay, so the idea is that I just throw a couple of, it's like multiple choice, but it's this or that, I guess we call it. So I throw something at Stillman, and then he instantly, without debate, he instantly throws it back. And this is to help us to get an idea, get us to know, allow us to get to know the speaker a little bit better, rather than it just be about WordPress. So let's go then. Now, obviously, I know a little bit about Stillman. So first question is indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
PHP or JavaScript?
PHP. Since I don't know anything about JavaScript.
Well, I know you do now. I taught you something a few weeks ago, didn't I? Hopefully.
Minimal.
I'll put you in the right direction. Minimal. Film or book?
Films.
Interesting. Cats or dogs?
You know the answer to that.
Dogs, I do, but nobody else does. What was that?
Dalmatians in particular.
101 or just the
There are
four?
only 3 in the household at the moment.
Okay. And your final question, pasta or pizza?
Depends on how hungry I am. Both.
No debate. Both. Right, okay, we'll let that one go. We'll let that one go. You can have both, just on this one occasion. So
thank you very much.
Makes a change from in-person sandwiches, I guess, doesn't it?
I'm sorry?
If you have both pasta and pizza, it makes a change from in-person sandwiches, which is what we usually have at our meetups.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. Right, so should we crack on with the presentation then? I've got your slides ready to go, Stillman.
Yeah,
I'm going to drop my, yeah, I know we should, because it's dragging on a bit. And that's down to me. That's basically down to me, so apologies for that. Right, so I'm going to drop Richard out and myself, and I'm going to let you take over, introduce yourself, and I look forward to hearing your presentation.
Now, I'm Stillman Davis. I used to help the organizers of this meetup at the Exmouth by putting out the chairs and making sure the sandwiches appeared on time. Now I just sit in front of the screen, occasionally making what I hope is at best an insight, or at worst, a mildly amusing comment. I began my serious computing career with a small IT publisher. Before then, I had played with the ZX Spectrum. Does anyone know about them? And I played with a friend's BBC computer. Then I learned about acoustic coupled modems, online databases, and came to grips with word processing. I used a program from Xerox called Ventura Publisher for desktop publishing of books and journals. I had to teach myself about a data ease program in the office. Then when Windows became the operating system to use, I created a new database in Paradox and never looked back. That is when I began my database publishing adventure. I used a very versatile and powerful Ventura database publisher to create all the paperwork in the office, from invoices and letters to lists of conference attendees, using all the information which was held in the database I created. Later on, I went freelance, and the contract allowed me to be a webmaster using WordPress. Eventually, I found myself in this very congenial group. I set up my own local server so that I could create my own sites before deploying them, and then it allowed me to understand how to use WordPress in that contract. And being rather parsimonious, the free standard theme suited me just fine. 2017 was a rather interesting one, which drew me into creating more extensive child themes. And then as the new versions came out, I began using the new versions of WordPress with their new themes. It is interesting to see how the different themes deal with the constant elements. Naturally, things didn't go simply. When I got into trouble, I went to WordPress.org for help. There are any number of people, knowledgeable people there, some just users like me, others who are very experienced, developers who volunteer on the various forums. You can sign up to keep updated by email. If you have signed up for a number of them, you can differentiate between the fora and their threads by the subject lines as they come in. Each theme has a forum, but so do all the plugins. How helpful all these fora are depends on the members and the moderators who are part of them. However, I have found the few that I have joined very good, and they have given me plenty of ideas for other implementations of WordPress. Customizing WordPress can be easy, quite simply by using the tools available through the dashboard. The additional CSS will allow you to change colors and spacings, sizes and placings. And using CSS can alter the appearance of themes dramatically, though not fundamentally in their implementation, because PHP takes care of that. The additional CSS can apply to very specific elements like an ID, for instance, post-385, or global elements like a P, i.e. all paragraphs. This very simple solution just adds CSS to override the standard styles in the theme. They appear in the style block in the head of the HTML file when you are looking at the page's underlying code. When you press Ctrl-U on the PC, that is. I suppose you Mac users have a different shortcut. There is another simple solution. You can use a plugin. It seems the theme 2020 has a very nice plugin to do a lot of things. It is called Options for 2020, surprisingly. On this slide, here are just 4 of 30 things it can do. As you may know, plugins allow you to provide a great many functions that you might find essential on your site. Plugins too often are not considered when people want to do something different on their site. They can be very powerful, like Jetpack, handling data and styling to customize the look of your site. All of this does not really change the site in its essence, because everything they do is on top of the original theme, and all that rests on the WordPress core. It is very simple to keep the site and all of its elements up to date by merely pushing the update buttons on the dashboard. All these simple customizations have to do with presentation, not the fundamental work of the core. Some plugins do work with the database, but that is not core functionality. They are peripheral to the work of the core. The simple additional CSS of WordPress and all those plugins may not be enough for you, though. They may not do everything you want, nor how you want them to do things. However, there are other possibilities. If you're really intent on getting exactly this or that in your theme, you can create it for yourself. However, you have to be happy to start from scratch. You will need to create all the PHP, the layout, the widgets, and the menus. There are shortcuts, but you have to know what you want and how to do everything yourself. We heard about some of these at this meetup when Elliot spoke some time ago. But a great adventure lies in front of you if this is the path you wish to pursue. Happily, though, there are lots of people who would be grateful for your customization request, so they could create a totally new theme just for you at a price. Your company may not have the resources to do all this work, and I don't mean just money. For a company to keep a site updated, which they have created, means it has to dedicate some person to do all that work, or allocate someone's already precious time to a new process. These days, companies are mean and lean, aren't they? Can you spare the person or the time? If you want to have a balanced life, you need time away from the business. And adding the upkeep of a bespoke website could take you away from that life. So you feel it is impossible to contract for a completely new theme, but the themes are still not quite right. So the question becomes, what if I don't want to do that much? What if I don't have the expertise to do the creation of a new website and its theme, and the simple customization doesn't quite float the boat? Well, you can outsource that part of your corporate communications. There is an army of freelancers, like myself, only too willing to help you. The Meetup heard a speaker a while ago about contracts with and for freelancers. These contracts should benefit both parties, but I don't want to talk about that. So what can I do if I don't have the time or expertise, nor the resources to hire someone? Is there any other way to customize my WordPress site? Oh, child theme, that's the answer. It's very simple to make one. To be honest, I am not that energetic, nor am I that knowledgeable. My business cannot support a contract with someone who knows all about CSS and PHP and JavaScript, let alone the whole WordPress system. Instead, I rely on the generosity of people in this meetup to help me out of my frequent difficulties. But first, you have to find a theme that looks like you want it, and more importantly, will allow you to modify it. These themes can be proprietary, wholly owned by another person or company, so you cannot change it, or open source with a copyright which allows you to modify as you wish, as long as you give the creator credit for the basis of the new child theme. There are a great many themes out there, many provided on and some by WordPress.org as free open source files. These themes are varied and interesting. I would recommend looking through that repository as one way of inspiring a new look for your site, even if you don't use a new theme, but get ideas about what you might like and how you might be able to do some additional CSS. One of those complete themes that you looked at could become the parent of your own child theme. I'm not going to get into the difficulties of plugins on top of everything else. In your child theme, new template pages can be created. This allows wildly different formats for different pages, from a blank page to a 7-column page with headers and footers, and perhaps even a sidebar or two. You can then create the sidebars and position them where you like. These sidebars could help with special menus, depending on where your site you find yourself, linked with the templates you create. As a matter of fact, this is how I've created this presentation on my local server in my own 2020 child theme. More on that later if you'd like. So to the idea of the child theme. Only two files are needed to create a child theme. The first is style CSS, which goes into your theme's child directory. In this case, my child theme directory is on the local host, then goes on to WP Content Themes, and it's called Heuristica 2020. The child theme name is the directory you put everything in. The other file that you need is the functions.php. Here you do your PHP to cope with the fundamentals of your theme. Everything else you do follows from these two files, and what other files and directories you copy to your child theme directory. We can talk about that later as well. One thing I have found exciting is that with a child theme, you can add new database tables, which allow you to hold different sorts of data discretely in your own structure. If you're clever about it, no one should even guess that you have them. These tables are outside the WordPress system, but they are your own tables, and they are unique to your site. There's a caveat there, however. GDPR becomes more important at this point with regard to the data you hold in these custom tables. I was told a while ago that using your WP prefix, like the default WP underscore, on these new tables will allow them to be backed up in your normal WP backup and allows you to use so much of the WordPress system very simply. I came a cropper of that with that, so I'm not sure whether that still holds. However, when you are using your own tables, you will need to do a lot more to process the interaction between site and table. When you enter data from any form, you need to ensure that they are not compromising the site or the data in any way. I suppose you have all heard about sanitizing data. You may have also heard about preparing queries. Then there is that $WPDB thing. And then you will start using classes within PHP WordPress superstructure. All this can be extremely confusing, especially if you're a simpleton like me. The question now becomes, why? Why have I bothered producing all these children on the basis of my experimentation with the standard WP WordPress themes? It has been hours of work and a great deal of frustration for me. My wife has not seen me for too many hours while I have been raising these children. Then there are all the little things that have to be done after you have set them out into the world. But it has been fun. I have learned a lot, and someone else has benefited. After all, as we have always said when we have these meetups, it is nice to be nice. There is a benefit here. All of that experience you have gained by creating child themes and plugins and all that other stuff can become another specialty item on your CV to brag about. So with that encouragement, I come to the end of what I wanted to say about child themes. If you want to ask questions, please ask me now. Is anyone there?
I have a question.
You do.
Yeah. Where did you learn all of your knowledge about customizing or using child themes? Was it through Meetup, or did you find online resources to study from? And did you get more value from finding stuff online, or was it more valuable to find them in person?
I've worked with child themes because someone said that was the way to do it. Because when you customize, say, the 2017 theme, they always said, oh, make a child theme. I found out how to do that. And by doing everything in the child theme, everything that you've done stays with that child theme. Whereas when you update 2017, for instance, you would lose all of your modifications. So a child theme is your own. You keep it, and everything that you've done in the child theme will stay there. Because if you update 2017 or whatever parent theme you're using, you would lose any modifications if you did it in the files of the theme.
Yeah. Did you? So, how did you find the resource? Was it through forums and
through the forum?
Connecting?
When I was looking at 2017 in the forum, they kept saying, "Make a child theme before you do anything."
Yeah.
So I did. And so I played a lot.
Yeah, I would agree totally with that. It's you're absolutely right. It's like it's the difference between changing the core files, or actually modifying to make something work, but without losing the core functionality. So yeah, absolutely do not change the core files, because with every update that will overwrite your stuff.
That's right.
And the right way to do it is to create a child theme, so you can therefore add functionality on top of the existing functionality. So if that original functionality gets updated, it will just get updated, but your functionality will still remain, and it will happen in the background.
That's
so, yeah,
right. And any security issues that come up in the theme, the core theme, will be updated, and you should remain secure unless your code is suspect.
Yeah, I mean, you could write bad code on top of good code.
Absolutely, which I do all the time.
Yeah, I've been guilty of it as well. But you learn the hard way. So, but yeah, it's leave the hard stuff to the original developers and change the functionality on top of things. And if it's fixed there, then your additional functionality should still work, and hopefully you've done it in the right way, and it should still work. So there's a question here from Victoria. How do you decide to? Sorry, yeah, I'm dyslexic, so apologies for that. How do you decide to make a change as a plugin or as a child theme? Would you like to?
Yeah, if a plugin is something that you would use time and time again, so you often have a short code, and that will always produce the same stuff. So every page that you use that plugin on should bring that same material up. But the child theme, you can do specific pages which you could be done as a plugin, but because if you want to have it just as that one page, then doing it as a child in the child theme would be best.
I think just to elaborate on that question, I guess the way to think about plugins and themes is that the theme is what you see, and it's the visual aspect of a website, whereas a plugin generally would deal with all of the functionality. So, and they're kind of the methodology, or the method of thinking is that they're kind of separate. So you can maintain all of the functionality with your website and just change the theme look and feel. You can interchange different themes but still maintain that functionality. So say you had a membership site that was run with a plugin, technically you should be able to change the theme and still maintain that functionality. Whereas with a theme, it's literally look and feel. So you're changing colorways, and if you extend that in a child theme, you really should be thinking about it as a look and feel thing, I guess. Do you want to add to that, Stillman? Is that?
No, that's exactly right. But plugins can be visual as well.
Yeah.
There are, but yes, the plugin and some of the functionality of the child themes, they're over one another. They combine very much. So, for instance, I could do a page and query a database and have it list on the page in a new template, or I could do a plugin to do the same thing. So there are two ways of doing it, but using it as a plugin, I'd be able to haul that database query into any page that I put the short code for that plugin on.
Yeah. I remember having. hopefully, Victor, if you want to join in on the Zoom afterwards, you can ask more detailed questions if we haven't answered your question directly. But hopefully that's helped. But yeah, no, I remember having a conversation, Stillman, with a developer from Russia, and that he kind of gave me that methodology of thinking, where you should think about a theme as the look and feel and the functionality as a plugin. And yeah, it's very difficult to separate the two sometimes, because if you create a plugin and you create new classes for content, you technically have to add that to the plugin. So you're kind of blending in the look and feel. So it's difficult to make the separation, but there are ways to extend or to make a theme extensible by dropping a function. So, and then you check if the function exists because the plugin's active, then it work in the theme. But then if you change that theme, that function's not there, that functionality would just disappear. So then you get into shortcode territory, and but it is difficult to differentiate between the two sometimes, between functionality and look and feel, and what belongs in the theme and what belongs in a plugin. But there's a whole debate there, I guess. Yes, there is another question actually. Yeah. From Graham. Is child theming more complicated in Gutenberg compatible themes? Sorry.
I have no idea. Goldfield's consultant. I don't know. I'm really not happy with Gutenberg because it's rather difficult to deal with for me. But
can I add to that?
Yeah, please do.
So yeah, I don't think it is more complicated because when you create it, the only complication would be is if you created your block in the theme itself. Therefore, so with your functions PHP, that would belong to the theme. If you created your block with that theme and you changed that theme, that block would then no longer work. However, if you put it in a plugin, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, if you create it in a plugin, you've literally isolated a very small component of the site itself, and because it gets saved in the content as comments and all its parameters in terms of a block, it shouldn't break, and it should have no complications in terms of whether you use a child theme, a premium theme, free theme, whatever, because all of the style, all of the functionality, that's not really functionality, well, it kind of is, but it's less, it's more to do with content. So, and that content stays with the block. So if that block is in a plugin, the style and everything that works with that block should stay with that plugin. So if you change your theme, interacted with different ones, the block would still do the same thing, regardless of whatever theme or child theme you were using. Hopefully that makes sense.
Could you think of blocks? Could you think of blocks as sort of objects, either as JavaScript objects or PHP objects, just to get a handle on it?
Yeah, I guess in layman's terms, they're literally small HTML components. The way it works in the back end is you add parameters to change things like colors, whether you hook into the colorways of the theme, you know, whether there's a link, whether it's alignment left or right. It's literally that's where all that functionality happens. Once it's set and saved to the database, regardless of how you load it in the front end, it's literally reading from the content as a small HTML component, I guess. It's the easiest way I can think of to explain it. I'm sure there are more intelligent people that can explain it in a better way. That's my kind of my take on it.
Well, you're much more intelligent than me, and I understand what you've said.
Cool. Is this another question? Customization extra code is maintained with updates nowadays, I believe. Yeah.
I don't quite understand.
It depends. Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you've got a theme that you're maintaining and you maintain your updates within that theme, yeah, that's absolutely right. Again, extra code. That can also apply to a plugin. If you've got your own premium plugin or you've got your own plugin in repository, you add extra customization. You can manage that update within that micro kind of environment.
Well, if Centrist is talking about the customization from the dashboard, that code, when you put that customization in, it is maintained, and when you update, because it's a supplement to the theme rather than part of the theme itself. If you look at the underlying code where you put some customization in, you'll see that there's a block of styles in the header from the customization. Is that, I hope that's what you mean.
Ah, yeah, you can add extra, yeah. So that goes into the customizer. Maybe that's what we're thinking about.
Yeah. Yes, and that's kept.
Yeah.
That isn't affected by an update.
No, it gets saved with your database actually.
Right.
But that's an interesting point actually, because if you add, say you added custom HTML within the content and you added a class that was specific to that theme, if you changed your theme, yeah, it would still work because it would still read the same class in the same database from the same. Although when you change the theme, I think it might reset your customizer settings. It will add it, it will reset it. If you disabled it and enabled a different theme, if you went back, it would then bring in those old settings, I think. But maybe we could continue that conversation in the Zoom, which I think we should be going back to now. Richard, is that right?
Yeah, I can do if you want. I can. I'll send you the link, and you can stick it on the. You need to take it out of private chat if anyone didn't get it on the email that came earlier.
Okay, yeah. So if anybody wants to join in the conversation on Zoom, there was an email that was sent out to the people that RSVP'd earlier. So there's a link there, and Richard's going to start that Zoom up. So if anybody's here watching and wants to jump onto Zoom, you're more than welcome to. We can continue the conversation there. So on that basis, Stillman, I'd like to say thank you very much for your talk.
Well, you're very welcome. I hope that it made some sense.
Absolutely did, yeah. And all it remains for me to do is to end the broadcast, and I will see you in Zoom. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.